And joining us right now to answer questions about this is Mayor Eric Adams.
That's right. Mayor Adams, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be on with you.
As you heard a lot of information there that Morgan reported, we're seeing the FBI raided the homes of multiple top officials who work in your administration and are reportedly requesting more search warrants for others. Can you confirm that the NYPD commissioner had his home raided as well, and have you spoken to him?
I think that it is important to reach out to the agency that is conducting this review, and that's the U.S. Attorney's Office. I have been clear that my message throughout my public life is to follow the law. And that's what we're doing, and we're going to comply with whatever inquiry and whatever we have to submit while this review takes place.
We understand that, but now you've seen federal agents search the properties of 5 of your top allies. I mean, what do you tell New Yorkers who say you may seem distracted? How can you convince New Yorkers that you're not?
I just opened school today, where 1 million school children return, and we continue to see the success throughout this administration. And remember, this was taking place for a 10-month period, and we continue to see everything from record jobs to decreasing crime. You know, you've heard me, and everyone has heard me from time to time. Stay focused, no distraction and grind. My job is to make sure I'm fighting on behalf of New Yorkers, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
Absolutely, but it's not just one. This is multiple people that you have appointed to high positions in city government and given them this power. So people look at it with 2 different options here. Either where there's smoke, there's fire, and indictments are going to follow, or 2, this is totally baseless, and the criminal justice system is being weaponized against you. So which one do you think it could be?
Well, I receive a number of calls and messages from everyday New Yorkers, and they say, Eric, hang in there. We're praying for you. We know how committed you are to the city. Keep doing the job that you're doing. And let me tell you something. I would love to engage in a good conversation around this, but it would just be irresponsible for me. You know, as a former law enforcement person, I know allow the reviews to take their course, and that is what I'm doing.
Let's talk about crime. You know, the NYPD is reporting that overall crime was down in August for the 8th straight month, but we are seeing some high-profile crimes. Just to name a few, the deadly shooting over the weekend at the West Indian Day Parade. There was a deadly subway shooting in Brooklyn overnight. You mentioned the first day of school. I mean, even a teacher in the Bronx was shot in the hand while she was in the classroom. And I know that you throw these stats out, but how do you convince New Yorkers that they are being kept safe?
Well, I'm a strong believer, and I agree with you. It's not only about the stats, it's how people feel. And when you look at the West Indian Day weekend and Juve, you saw police officers, community groups, crisis management team. You saw an amazing response. We had one person, one idiot with a gun that shot 5 people. I walked down that parkway and I saw how people were enjoying themselves without any violence. Hats off to everyone who was involved. Oh, hundreds of thousands of people were out there. And this is the safest big city in America, and we're going to continue to drive down crime.
When you talk about hats off, we do have to give our hats off to the men and women in blue, because those crime stats for August of 2023 compared to 22, they're down drastically and dramatically. And it's surprising to note that, because New York has the lowest growth rate in police force by negative 23%. How are you doing what you're doing when there's no growth in getting people to put on the badge?
Listen, let me tell you, those men and women, you know, it's different from my days when I was a police officer, when we wanted to do a great deal of overtime. These young people want to be home with their families, and it is challenging when you have such a small amount. We've learned to deploy our police personnel better than we've done in the past. Anyone that has attended a parade route will used to see large number of officers lined up on the route. We're using smart, strategic ways of removing guns off our streets and keeping people safe at the same time.
Yeah, but I guess the question we're asking you is, not a lot of officers are signing up for the force. Last time you came on our show, you talked about how you're having trouble recruiting officers. What are you, I understand that you agree with us that that's a problem, but what are you doing to get more officers signed up on the force?
Well, it's a combination. We are rolling out an amazing ad campaign that's going to zero in on officers. We have started carrying out what's called our hiring halls, where the police officers are there. But one of the best recruiters we find is another police officer, a family member, someone that has retired. And it's about our preachers, our Catholic leaders, our rabbis, everyone, imams being engaged, because we're having a criminal justice problem nationally, not only New York City, nationally. There's a decrease in those criminal justice positions, and we're doing a great job of going out and reaching our young people to come in and join the force.
Let's talk about the migrant issue, because there has been some stuff in the news lately, which is kind of shocking to some viewers, that we're going to be offering migrant families up to $4,000 to exit the city's shelter system. What do you say to New Yorkers who say that that's too much money? We can't even afford to put ourselves in housing.
Think about it for a moment. That was the same analysis that people gave us when we were giving out the food cards that was saving us of millions of dollars in a year by, instead of having a large company come and charge us and food waste. Editorial pages started looking at it and saying, great decision on the parts of the administration. It was a smart thing to do. That's the same thing here. Do we rather have someone stay in our shelter system where you're paying almost 3-4 times the amount over the year, instead of saying, here's a $4,000 stipend, go out,
but Mayor,
find yourself a place.
But Mayor, just to interject fast, but you could just nip all of this in the bud if you looked at the law, which is on the books, as the right to shelter being an umbrella term, which applies to these migrants. I know you said that you don't agree with that, so why not fix it there?
No, and that's the real confusing part about it. The migrants and asylum seekers issue has nothing to do with right to shelter. It has nothing to do with it. Right to shelter is anyone that comes to this city and needs shelter has a right to receive shelter. I don't change the law of right to shelter. The city council must do that. But migrants and asylum seekers are paroled into the country. They're paroled in and they're here legally, and it is the responsibility of the federal government to not say New York City must pick up the price tag for it.
Before we go, we do want to ask you about schools. I mean, in light of this terrible Georgia school shooting, the tragedy there, there are reports that the students were texting their parents to tell them they were safe. I mean, oftentimes parents, that's the only way that they can get a hold of their kids in class. And I mean, school shootings, unfortunately, has become a reality, a norm in our lives today, in our society today. So all of this, does it change your stance on the proposed cell phone ban for students here in New York?
Well, I think you just pointed out something, how parents really are concerned about being able to reach their children, and for those children to be able to notify them when there's a tragedy that's taking place and unfolding in the school building. That's why I'm taking my time and making sure we can get it right. I'm not going to rush into this. I believe a ban should be in place because it's a great distractor and it causes other problems, but I'm not going to rush into this because a lot of people are saying do it right away. We're going to get it right, and we're going to make sure children are safe, and we're going to have mechanisms to be able to communicate with parents.
The only thing we'd like you to rush into is coming and joining us in studio, which you promised you were going to do last time, and we were over Zoom, so we're going to hold it to you next time this is happening in person.
Yeah, next time I'm in the studio with you enjoying myself. Just let me make sure I have a cup, one of the Fox 5 cups.
Absolutely, we'll get you one. That's a done deal. All right, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much.